Hi.
Hi.
Excited to talk football.
Are you?
Yeah, it's become more and more. I mean, I know it's getting tedious, and we're talking about the same things, but now we're into the variations of the same things, and we get some good new, at least intel or glimpses into how things are operating in Foxborough currently when we were at the owners' meeting.
Okay, good.
Well, they're not operating.
Well, I want to ask you about that. You in a column earlier this week, Monday or Tuesday, wrote about the Patriots and their messaging issues, which I agree with. I think that's been a problem for them. How do they solve these messaging issues?
Stop trying to answer every question as transparently as possible so that you end up giving myriad reasons for the way things are going to turn out. You know, and I would use as the biggest example Robert Kraft when asked about expectations, and he said, my expectation and my hope is to make the playoffs. And then the same answer, he said, I hope we don't struggle. Later closing the answer with, I just hope we don't struggle. You can't say you expect the playoffs with a first-year head coach, first-year OC, third overall pick after a 4-13 season, and your offense is totally bereft of talent to the point where you had to move on from the greatest coach in the history of the NFL and say, we're going to be back. We expect to be back in the playoffs. Why? Why would you say that? Say we have a lot of challenges ahead of us. We're a real friggin' mess here. Is that going to excite you? No. But I think shooting it more straight is much more honest and acceptable for the fan base than, lipstick on a pig. Can't do it.
Well, Tom, do you think fans would appreciate that kind of frankness, or would they go, well, what the hell have the last 4 years been about? Like you tried this every which way with Bill Belichick, and 3 out of the last 4 years we're now, in the playoffs, and we haven't won a playoff game.
Well, what's true? I mean, I would think that just going with the truth would be the best thing. Yes, we did go through 4 years of it with Bill, which is the latitude you give the greatest coach of all time. So it didn't work out. Bill had his swing when we bottomed out in 2020 into 2021. We spent a ton of money in free agency. We did pretty well in the draft, and then it dissipated over the next couple of years. We had a decision to make on how we were going to do this secondary rebuild, or the second rebuild in 4 years. This isn't all the same rebuild. This is the second one. So to me, I think being frank and honest about it, while doing something that Robert hasn't done enough of, unless kind of put it, sword point, is to just credit Bill unreservedly. They got to get into a better habit of doing that.
Was there any noted, and this was the first time that there was an owners meeting without Bill Belichick in a long time for Robert Kraft. Was there any noticeable difference, like in his demeanor? We saw that one clip of him answering the questions, but you were around a little bit more personally. Was there any change in him? Did you see?
No, there's no change in Robert. I think I'm not going to say he's more free and easy with his commentary, but I think that he has used over the last 3 years the owners' meetings as a state of the team address. And in each of the last 3, he's used it. Actually, he did a conference call in 21 in which he talked about the draft misses and the collaboration he was seeing heading into the 21 draft that he was encouraged by. But he's used it as a place to poke at Bill and to up the temperature underneath his seat. So he wasn't doing that this year. But I think just by suggestion to talk about expecting the playoffs this year, and there was another answer. He started to answer and said something about, I expect success. And I said, this year?
Right.
To him in the middle of the answer. I'm like, point that was this year? So, yeah. I'm like, well, what team am I watching here? Because they're not getting a hell of a lot better.
Does he seem to be feeling the pressure? Like, does it seem like ownership is taking on this burden here?
I don't know. I think that they feel the pressure, but it's a luxury that you have as the owner, is you could exert the pressure elsewhere when you hire someone. So they've always been able to do that with Bill. And that's what I would say is, I'm not saying they made the wrong move with Bill, but that shield for the slings and arrows of the fan base and the media is gone now. You could say, well, and we did often, myself certainly included, the lack of spending on a DeAndre Hopkins was attributable to Bill, which it was. But the overall lack of spending or the lack of attraction for players now exists, in large part because Bill was the last link to being a pull, a magnet.
So I don't want, and that's an interesting word because that's a word that Robert Kraft used this past week. But so when it comes to what you learned at the owners' meetings, and you said you gleaned a few things. What did you glean about the inner workings there?
It's very clear that Elliot Wolf is the person who is in charge of all personnel, which we knew, but the deference that I think Gerard showed in his media session to Elliot Wolf indicates to me that I think if you hit Gerard with the truth serum, say, look, I want to coach the football team. Don't ask me about the last 20 roster spots. And I know I have a relationship with him, but he hasn't said this to me at all, on the side either. I want to be clear about that. But I think that Gerard looks at it and says, this is Elliot's deal. I got enough over here with the team, the training, the X's and O's, which I haven't even gotten to yet. The roster is Elliot's. So I think gleaning that and understanding all the people that Elliot Wolf has hired, largely Cleveland people, Alex Van Pelt, Alonzo Highsmith, et cetera, while we know the Krafts are going to go through the exercise of interviewing someone else, there's no way in God's green earth that they would ever remove Elliot Wolf as GM after using a top 3 pick or moving off of it with some kind of a trade and hiring all these people. And if they do, then my God, that would be the height of insanity.
Tom, you wrote a little bit about how, even just with those comments that Robert Kraft made a couple of days ago to you guys down there in Orlando, he has a finger on the scale when it comes to taking the quarterback or not, wherever in the first round. And I'm wondering if you're Elliot Wolf and you're probably anticipating that you're going to be the GM going forward, even with this search that they say that they're doing for whatever reason, how much do you think that is affecting the decision that he executes with that number 3 pick?
Yeah, that leads us to another comment that Robert made that I think, will become this week's version of burn some cash and weaponize the offense. And that's top rate young quarterback or first rate, whichever he said. Probably not as catchy as burn some cash, but whoever comes in, we will, as a group, you especially, Adam, will be saying, well, is that a top rate young quarterback, Michael Penix?
Yeah, J.J. McCarthy, is that top rate? No.
Well, you don't know that.
Drake May's airmailing some throws. Drake May's airmailing some throws. I'll let you know, Tom.
Oh my God, a quarterback overthrew someone. I've never seen that. So listen, but be that as it may, that will be no pun. That will be what we use as a cudgel. Is that a top-rate young quarterback? That looks like a first-rate young quarterback as Drake May overthrows someone and gets picked off by, whoever coming up in September, October, November, whenever he plays. So I think that is the pressure that this team faces. Is Robert Kraft is on record saying, I want a top-rate young quarterback. To move him off of that spot, well, then you have to be presenting him with a bag. To me, that bag has to include 3 first-round picks, one being a swap of picks, and then a first-round pick this year and next year. So as we continue to talk about trading down and talk about Minnesota, and people are spending more time on it, and I see more and more draft projections of Minnesota selecting at 3, the only way I would do that deal, the bag has to include 11, 23, and Minnesota's first-rounder next year. And if the Patriots want to really get interesting, make that deal, and then trade back up to number 4 and take J.J. McCarthy.
Okay, well, so this is Thor Nystrom, who I know you recommended to us and we spoke to last week.
He was great.
That's exactly what he said. That's exactly what he said.
Really good.
That's the Patriots. I think that we're all feel as if we're standing, whether we be media fans, that there's no safety net. This could be a disaster, a free fall, and what we're watching, observing, analyzing, or paying to go see as the fans are, might be really bad. But there's actually an unbelievable amount of opportunity in it, too. You could get really, really good. If you look at what Arizona's been doing with Monty Ossenfort, or Monty Ossenfort's been doing with Arizona, more precisely, he's been a friggin' maestro out there. He is just fleecing teams left and right for picks. And I think that the opportunity exists there or here for Elliot Wolf to figure some things out in the same way if he wants to be aggressive.
Okay. He's Tommy Curran. You can check out his work at NBC Sports Boston. He's on with us every Thursday at 3:30. He's on with Gresham Fourier on Tuesdays. Tom, we appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
I like that call. Did you have fun?
Very much. Yeah.
I know that you're pocketing that "be that as it may" with the E on the end. I know you are. I'm going to see that in a column.
That T-shirts, market those.
Nice.
Okay. Send those out. We appreciate it. Thank you, Tom. As again, all our guests joins us on the Harbor One hotline. That's interesting.
You'll definitely see it on a graphic at NBC Sports Boston, no question.
No, that's
Oh,
true.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.